My name is Jim Barber, or Bubba, and our business is BubbaQ Smokehouse and Catering. And the focus of what we do is on-site mobile barbecue catering, slow smoked for a long time, really tenderizing the meat and giving it flavor through the smoke. Good question. I don't think, for me as an entrepreneur, I don't think I chose to be an entrepreneur. I think it chose me, where early in life I think I just wanted more control, and the only way for me to do that is to go out and start my own business, and then at that point I decided that there's lots of opportunities out there, so I just found one that I'd like to do and then just moved forward and learned everything I could about it and just turned it into a business. Well, it's kind of a strange story. I had another business, a video duplication business, but I also had a passion for barbecue, and virtually no real barbecue in Calgary that I knew of. So searching on eBay, way back when eBay just started, I saw a barbecue in Indiana for sale, a mobile barbecue, and I thought it was a pretty good price. I didn't know much about the cost of anything, but it seemed all right to me. So I decided I'd buy it. And then at that point I decided, well, the only way I can get it back is to go there and pick it up and drive it back. Well, I didn't have a vehicle I could go back with, so I ended up buying a vehicle to drag the trailer back, and that is another story altogether, the experience of driving it back. But when I got here, I started to do barbecue for a few friends in the neighborhood and family, and one of our good friends asked if I could do a barbecue for their wrap up for our teachers' year end. So I agreed I would do that. I did a barbecue pig, and again, another story. I think they thought it was fine, but where we are now, and I look at back then, it was almost a disaster. But that entrepreneur spirit in me who says, okay, I can make this better, and I can do this, as a part-time job. So that's how the whole barbecue catering started. Was the need for barbecue for me, and then to look and say, I can make a couple of dollars on the side. We'd be open daily, open for business daily, so anybody who wants to book us can book us at any time. We're not focused on weekends or in the summer, but that seems to be our busiest times, is weekends and summers. But we can, our presence is on the internet mostly. I mean, we don't do any hardcover or paper advertising or media advertising other than the internet. And now it's mostly word of mouth and repeat customers. Typical day, and it all depends the day of the week, but generally it's early part of the day is just communicating back with clients, sending them estimates, just doing real day-to-day logistics and administration. And then as the day goes on, we look at what's coming up the following week or weeks, or the events that are on our plate for, say for the next 2 weeks, because you can't look too far in advance, because a lot of things change. Break down the costs for and ordering for each event, and then do a list of a schedule for staffing, and that usually takes a good part of the day. A daily routine would be ordering or buying the products that we would need, whether it be protein, which is beef or chicken, pork, that type of thing, disposable dinnerware, whatever, so we had all the supplies we need for the day of event. On the day of the event, the day before, we'll start to do our cooking, because it takes 12 to 15 hours for barbecue. So we'll start late in the evening and let it run through the evening on the smoke side. smoking the meat, and then as we get closer to the event time, because you don't want to cook too far in advance, we'll start to do our timing for all our sides and salads and what have you, and then start to set up a day or the equipment for distribution, putting the equipment we need into the vehicles to try to get to on site by about 60 minutes before the event. Once that's once that is all done, it's just it's getting everything together to make sure it happens on the right timing, so you arrive on time to keep the client happy and to make sure that the flow of the daily routine is actually met. So. What motivates me? Money. I can't deny that money isn't the main motivator, because money is it makes things that I want, those other things outside of what we do, for business. Success. I mean, the motivation is to get it right. You want to be successful. You don't want to just mail it in. I see that all the time, where especially people who are non-entrepreneurs, they just want to make money, and you'll see it on the quality of their food, the quality of their product, their communication with the client it's not the same thing. Where for me, being successful is paramount when we're dealing with clients. Experiences, every day needs to be met differently, so you just roll with it, and you're looking forward for those experiences. Again, we go back to money. Balancing the minimal cash flow. You've got a startup business. My wife called it a jobby, where it's kind of a hobby and a job. And that's how it started, because I did have another business. So you're not going to go throw a bunch of money into it. And I've seen that so often, where you have a whole bunch of cash, and you'll put it in and you'll spend it all. Where when you're just starting up, what you got to do is really got to watch those nickels. So the balance of that minimal cash flow, and then transition from a part-time business, if that's the way you start as an entrepreneur, unless you jump in with both feet, and it's a different animal on each different business. But for me, it's always that startup, because I've started up each one from scratch. So you're trying to make sure that everything makes sense. So you're walking fairly slowly until you've got a really good handle on what's going on, and then you're just start to decide, okay, this is where I want to go, and that's the direction, and then that's when you jump in, and it transitions from that part-time to a full-time, and then you're an expert. You know what? You got to make mistakes. You got to get kicked and brush yourself off and move on. Just don't do it twice. Or if you do it twice, you just make sure that there's a reason for it. There's always a reason if you make a mistake and you're going to try it again, it might be a different direction. Just don't keep repeating it. Otherwise, it's not much as a sacrifice. You just have to be totally aware of it, is the family life. Especially when you're an entrepreneur that's including your family in part of your business. So you need, when you're having either social family time, I actually try not to talk about business, but it does creep its way in there. So, and everybody gets it, but that's that you're trying to create that balance and make sure that the family isn't sacrificed. It's conflicted, but not always in a negative way. I mean, there is conflict where where we just have to look at things and say, okay, I mean, the summer because that's our busiest time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can't do anything in the summer because that's when I'm making hay, and so is everybody else. But then they realize that, there are times where there is some breathing room after the fact or something down the road where it's going to be a benefit to take those. And we hear it almost every event. It's the customer feedback. It's unlike a restaurant where, especially in catering, where your cook staff or the management doesn't see, they don't actually talk to the client, very often, if at all. Where with us, because we do what we call an assisted buffet, where we're in behind that buffet line, and people come back and say, time again, that's the best barbecue I've ever had, or this is the best wedding food we've ever eaten, and we've done a lot of weddings. So that's what that is something I can't get enough of. I mean, it's just hearing that you're doing it right, getting it right.
It really is. It really is good. To what do you most attribute your success? And what would you say are the five key elements for starting and running a successful business?
My success in this one is, I think, my previous experience in other businesses. I've had 3 other businesses, and just learning the proper way to do things, where you need to have a direction and also be able to be flexible. Mm-hmm. So having that previous experience really helped. Obviously, supporting from your wife and your family is probably the top of the heap. If you don't have somebody behind you supporting you, it's going to be a tough ride. So if I was to say 5 things, pick an industry that's going forward, not backwards. Mm-hmm. Like I was in the video business, it was pretty much dead, right? So, yeah. I mean, that's, just say, pick something that's in this century. I always say when you pick a business, find a niche where you can, you don't have to learn a whole lot, because you need to be an expert in what you're doing. Mm-hmm. I mean, don't allow somebody else to run your business. You're going to run your business, so you have to know all of it. Watch the pennies. You've got to watch the money. If it goes one way, you're dead in the water. The other thing I really believe in is to get a good mentor. Mentorship is something, especially for young entrepreneurs. They need to make that call at 2 a.m. where they just don't know, whether they should pack it in or move on and just go get a regular job. So you need that, or a very specific education that's targeted to what you want, that you're going to be in business for. And then put in the time. I mean, like I mentioned, 2 a.m, you got to put in the time, but don't sacrifice too much of the family life, because then what's it all for, right? So It's that balance. Okay. Math really helps. You can't deny it. You got to be able to, in your head quickly, when you're in a meeting, you have to do the math and figure out if it's working or if it's right. And numbers don't lie, so you need math. You got to think on your feet. I mean, because you're the bottom line. I mean, if you're the entrepreneur and you're running the show, you got to be able to make that decision right then. You got to bob and weave, be able to think and make that call. And you know what? It doesn't matter. Like I said earlier, you got to make a mistake. I mean, there is any entrepreneur, real entrepreneur, that said that he's never made a mistake is full of shit. That's the only way to learn sometimes, is to make those mistakes. Mm-hmm. And then communication. Be able to communicate and also listen. You gotta have big ears, you gotta be able to listen to the client. You know, it's maybe not be exactly the direction you want to go, but that's, I mean, at the end of the day, that they write the checks. So. You know what, again, it's the customer satisfaction. Hearing that is, I mean, just doing it right and getting the customer to be a repeat customer or a loyal customer, that's paramount to me. I mean, the money follows, obviously. So. Mm-hmm. I thought about this, and I think it's adventurous.
Yeah.
I mean, every day it's an adventure. And when it stops being an adventure, I'm done. Way more allies than enemies. Yeah, it's you need help out there. You can't do it all, so you got to have a few people in the pocket, and it goes both ways. I mean, I get calls from people, and I call people, and those little favors help. But if you do it right, you'll have very few of the other side, the enemies. So some integrity, I guess. But sometimes things happen.
Yeah.
So.